Have you ever noticed this scene? Or this one? Probably not, because some of Invincible's biggest secrets appear for less than a second. So I rewatched the entire series frame by frame to find the craziest details hidden in plain sight. Let's start with the time Mark almost killed someone with a trash bag. At the beginning of the first episode, a security guard named Steve mentions he's taking a trip to London. Nothing unusual, until later that same episode. While working at Burger Mart, Mark's powers suddenly kick in, and without thinking, he launches a trash bag completely out of the atmosphere. Most viewers forget about it immediately, but the show doesn't, because one episode later, Steve is standing in London when something suddenly falls out of the sky. It's the exact same Burger Mart trash bag, and if Steve hadn't moved, Mark would have accidentally killed him from the other side of the planet. Invincible hides a pretty unexpected cameo in Season 3, Episode 6. At one point, 2 police officers appear on screen. Most viewers don't think much of it, but they're actually based on Bunk Moreland and Jimmy McNulty from the crime drama The Wire. The reference goes even further. Invincible actually names them Bunk and McNulty in the episode itself. Now that's a deep-cut TV reference. There's another reference hiding in plain sight. Mark's high school is called Reginald VelJohnson High, and the principal is named Principal Winslow. At first, those names don't mean much, but the show's writers picked them very carefully because Principal Winslow is actually voiced by Reginald VelJohnson himself. And if you grew up watching 90s television, you probably know him better as Carl Winslow from Family Matters. So the school is named after the actor. The principal shares his character's last name, and the actor himself voices the principal, making the entire thing one giant Family Matters reference. Another real-world reference appears when Amber visits Mark's room. While looking around, she asks him about his favorite comic. Mark holds up a book called The Underwater Welder, and surprisingly, that's not a made-up title. It's a real award-winning graphic novel written by Jeff Lemire. The show could have invented a fake comic. Instead, it quietly slipped a real one into the scene. In the very first episode, the Immortal stops a villain named Biplane. It's such a quick moment that most viewers forget about him immediately. After all, he gets launched straight into the atmosphere. But in episode 4, when Mark flies toward Mars, Biplane shows up again. He's still up there, exactly where the Immortal left him. Now that is commitment to continuity. We've reached stage 2. Now let's take things up a notch. As you probably noticed, Invincible loves poking fun at other superheroes. But in the original comics, the creators took things a step further by quietly hiding real cameos in the background. Savage Dragon appears at the Guardian's funeral. During the Viltrumite War, members of Youngblood show up too, and even Spawn sneaks in for a quick appearance. But the references don't stop at comic books, because in that same issue, among a crowd of panicking civilians, you can spot a very familiar logo. It's the cover art for Wu-Tang Clan's 8 Diagrams album. At one point, Mark gets thrown into a universe where a hero called Agent Spider is fighting someone named Professor Ock. And by now, you can probably see where this is going. The show obviously can't use Spider-Man or Dr. Octopus by name, but the creators found a clever workaround. They even hired Josh Keaton to voice Agent Spider. And if you're a fan of animated superhero shows, you probably know him as the voice of Peter Parker from The Spectacular Spider-Man. So even though they couldn't use the real character, they still packed the scene with as much Spider-Man DNA as they could legally get away with. The multiverse sequence hides another reference too. For a split second, Mark appears holding an absolutely massive sniper rifle, and if you freeze the frame, you'll recognize it immediately. It's the Dragon's Breath sniper from Fortnite. At first, that might seem random, but it wasn't. Around the time this episode aired, Mark Grayson had just been added to Fortnite as a playable skin, so the animators slipped in a quick nod to their own crossover. And at normal speed, the entire thing lasts less than a second. Alright, we're entering stage 3. From this point forward, the secrets get a lot harder to spot. This next detail is almost impossible to catch without headphones. Long before the show reveals that Donald is a cyborg who has been rebuilt multiple times, the sound design team was already giving it away. Every time Donald adjusts his glasses or shifts in his chair, you can hear a faint hydraulic click hidden in the audio mix. It's subtle enough that most people never notice it. Your brain just files it away as background noise. But once you know the truth, those sounds suddenly make a lot more sense, because the clue was there all along. The show actually gives away Shapesmith's secret long before the reveal. In the background of the NASA control room, you can briefly see his neck stretch just a little too far, almost like rubber being pulled, and no normal human neck does that. Later, when Shapesmith is revealed to be a Martian, the clue suddenly makes sense. The show told you exactly who he was. Most viewers just never noticed it. Agent Spider wasn't the only time Invincible flirted with copyright law. During Mark's fight with Angstrom Levy, he gets thrown through multiple dimensions, and in one of them, he briefly runs into a dark figure wearing a black cape. The reference is so obvious that Mark even starts saying, "You're a man who dresses like a bat," before the scene cuts away. It's about as close as the show could legally get to dropping Mark into Gotham City. Even the Season 2 teaser was hiding clues. In the standalone clip where Mark and Alan the alien are eating at Burger Mart, everything looks like a normal conversation, but look at the booth behind them. Two men are sitting there, watching Mark very closely. At first, they look like random background characters, but they're actually alternate versions of Angstrom Levy, quietly keeping tabs on Mark before the season had even started. Most people treated the teaser like a simple promotional clip, but the show was already hinting at what was coming. That teaser was hiding another clue too. While Mark and Alan are talking, a document can be seen on the laptop screen. Most people never notice it, and even fewer stop long enough to actually read it. But the text isn't random. It describes a future fight between Mark and the resurrected immortal. What looks like a simple background detail was actually teasing a major moment from Season 2. Whenever the show cuts to the Mahler twins' Supermax prison, there's another character hiding in the background. At first glance, he looks almost identical to Duplicate, and that's because he's her brother, Multi-Paul. He appears across multiple episodes, quietly establishing his existence long before the show officially introduces him. Most viewers assume he's just an Easter egg, but he's actually a small piece of character building that pays off later. Alright, we've reached stage 4. The easy ones are officially behind us. Quick shout out to Brandy for supporting the channel. If you want to be next, comment, "I subbed." Now watch this. In the comics, Mark's favorite superhero comic is called Science Dog, but if you watch the show, the name is completely different. Instead, it's called Seance Dog, a magical ghost hunting terrier, and that change wasn't accidental. Science Dog was already its own separate property. So, rather than using the original character, the show introduced a legally distinct version. Changing just a few letters was enough to create an entirely new character. During the Guardians massacre in Episode 1, Omni-Man crushes Red Rush's head in one of the most brutal scenes in the entire series. But if you slow it down, the moment starts to look surprisingly familiar. The camera angle, the impact shots, and the sheer brutality of it all look like something straight out of Mortal Kombat. And years later, when Omni-Man was added to Mortal Kombat 1, the connection became even harder to ignore. One of his finishing moves closely mirrors this exact scene, turning one of Invincible's most infamous moments into a playable fatality. The Reaniman makes some very specific sounds when they move and attack, and if you've ever played Left 4 Dead, those sounds might feel surprisingly familiar. Their shrieks and screams sound almost identical to the hunter infected from the game. Intentional or not, the resemblance is hard to miss, especially once you've heard both of them side by side. Finally, we've reached stage 5, and these last few are some of my favorites. At a Comic-Con panel inside the show, Mark meets a comic creator named Philip Schaff. At first, he seems like a throwaway character, but he's actually voiced by Invincible creator Robert Kirkman himself. And throughout the scene, Schaff keeps talking about how long animation takes, how frustrating the wait can be, and how badly he wishes he could release things faster, which makes the whole conversation feel a little different, because fans had just spent more than 2 years waiting for Season 2. And whether it was intended as an apology or not, it feels like Robert Kirkman addressing the audience directly through the show itself. William's dorm room is hiding a surprising amount of pop culture references. In Season 2, Episode 3, the posters on his wall include parody versions of BTS, Lil Nas X, Lady Gaga, and even Magnum P.I. But here's the detail most people miss. 2 seasons later, William still has those same posters, every single one. The artists brought them all back. When Doc Seismic falls into the magma beneath Mount Rushmore, most viewers are focused on the defeat itself. But pause the scene right before he disappears. Look at the pose, the angle of his arm, the way his body sinks beneath the surface. It's almost identical to the iconic T-800 scene from Terminator 2 Judgment Day, one of the most famous images in movie history. And somehow, the Invincible animators managed to hide it inside what most people remember as a quick villain defeat. Alright. Those were 21 details you probably missed in Invincible. But if you thought those were hard to spot, wait until you see what I found in Avatar. Click the video on your screen right now.